Hey guys, this is part one of my two-part doggy daycare public service announcement. Today we're going to talk about what happens when your dog gets kicked out of daycare or if you bring your dog to a trial day to a daycare and you're told that your dog just didn't make the cut. I want to talk about this for a second because this is a wildly misunderstood situation. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certainly plenty of scenarios where dogs either get removed from daycares or are told that they're not appropriate for daycare, and it's a training issue. Okay, so there are definitely some circumstances that we need to do some things that can help make that dog acceptable in daycare, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in part two. But right now, what's really important to mention is that some dogs just don't do well in daycare, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the dog. That's right, your dog is fine. They just don't like daycare, or it's just not a healthy setting for them. Daycares can be great places to let your dog burn off some energy, let them interact with other dogs, but it's not the place for every dog. When I was a kid, my mother tried to send me to summer camp. I threw a fit, I hated it, I was miserable, and I made a big stink about it. Summer camp was not right for me. Some other kids have a great time there. Your dog is the same way. Some dogs prefer to be home on the couch while you're at work. They don't like being surrounded by dogs, especially for 8 hours straight. And that's a big one, guys. Just because your dog enjoys the dog park for 30 minutes or is excited to come into daycare because it's like, hey, dogs, this is going to be great, doesn't mean that they're going to love having that experience for 8 to 9 hours at a time. And that's often where you see dogs starting to stress or not really having a productive day in daycare. Some dogs just don't appreciate that setting for that type of duration. Another big one is older dogs. It is extremely normal as your dog ages for them to not be super thrilled about hanging out in large group of dogs, especially with younger, very active, and very playful dogs. Now, this is where a lot of daycares can differ. Some larger facilities can separate dogs by age groups. Some facilities actually have a separate room for older or geriatric dogs. Our daycare here is very small. We don't have that. So older dogs just tend to not be really into coming to daycare. When your dog was younger, they may have loved it, but now they're a bit more mature. It's kind of like sending your grandfather to a frat party. You know, he's probably not going to have the greatest time. Now, again, some dogs just don't enjoy it. Some dogs really enjoy it, but the energy of the environment, the loose structure of the environment, the sort of free-for-all atmosphere is just not a healthy atmosphere for all dogs. Meaning, some dogs can do great in controlled socialization, they do great with a little bit of structure or in smaller group settings, but again, you throw them in a daycare with a lot of dogs for a long day where there's only, maybe one attendant for every 15 to 20 dogs depending on the facility. And some dogs just need more guidance and supervision than that, and they're going to tend to get themselves into trouble. This may not be something that training can change. It may just be part of who they are. Daycare may just not be the greatest setting for them to socialize. This does not mean that there's anything wrong with your dog. Your dog is normal. They're fine. Daycare is just not the best setting for them. So keep that in mind, guys. If your dog gets removed from a daycare, or if you bring them for a trial day and you get told that it's not going to work out, yes, maybe there are training steps that can be taken that can remedy the situation. But sometimes it's just not the right environment, and that is okay. That's the biggest thing I want you to understand, that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your dog. It doesn't mean that your dog is a problem. It doesn't mean your dog is unbalanced. It doesn't mean that they are inbred or not wired right. They're a normal dog who is not adapted to a very, very particular type of environment. Just like not all dogs can be police dogs or therapy dogs or service dogs, not all dogs do well in daycare. It's simple as that.